This is MRN Out Loud on MRN.com, presented by Bloomin' Mondays at Outback Steakhouse. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse, reviewing what happened at Pocono, what's going to happen at Pocono next year. Also, the Xfinity Series is in Iowa, and we've got road racing coming again this weekend. Little Joey is very happy. Kevin Harvick gets a 6th place finish. That means it is Bloomin' Monday. You can get a free Bloomin' Onion at Outback Steakhouse. Go by, tell them, hey, Kevin Harvick, top 10, gimme the onion.
Led the most laps, had probably the second fastest car. The fastest car did not win the race. The fastest car ended up hitting. The agendas and strategies were all over the board.
Yeah, and that kind of is interesting. It's compelling.
That's exactly right. It's what Pocono offers. It's not, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but it's not going to give you the advantage of having a Martinsville or Bristol style activity during the race. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that, just like other sports that are enamored on TV, I think Pocono sits it right up there with the greatest strategies and the excitement and the anticipation and the buildup. What's going on? How's this going to work? Is it going to play out? And we saw a lot of things happen that were ruined by guys. We had 2 big wrecks.
People ruin everything, don't they?
They do, but and I say big wrecks. They were single car incidences, but it completely flipped the script when Chase Elliott cut a tire into 3, and then when the Josh Bilicki car had a drive shaft, which is kind of unusual in today's time, break, and he was unable to move his car.
Doesn't matter how much you push the gas when that happens.
No, and that's what's so frustrating. The guys that were on the track, talking to them, they were wanting him to drive or get to an opening off of turn 1. There were plenty of openings. Well, the problem was when that drive shaft breaks, it sounds like a blender with rocks in it, right? It's beating and banging it, and all you're trying to do is get
out of the way.
Well, get that noise to stop.
Yeah.
Okay, this is intense. I don't know what's going on here, so I'm gonna.
But it can't be good.
I'm gonna stop and see if it goes away, and by golly, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna move. I can't, and I'm stuck here now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that train of thought. When that car is making noises, you're not concerned about the 37 other participants that are driving by you at 170 miles an hour. You're concerned about yourself, your well-being.
Do I need to get out of this thing?
Correct, exactly. This thing sounds like it's about to explode, so I want to stop first, quit my movement. And when it did, the noise went away. He's like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's put it in first gear, and nothing going on. So he's stuck. So those 2 events completely flipped the script. You had Ryan Blaney was one caution, Chase Elliott was another, and
Ryan
Josh
Preece.
But those wrecks were the ones that really flipped agendas and drove crew chiefs crazy, because our crew chief specifically made some fantastic strategy calls. Paul Menard, I thought, did a great job of taking advantage of our clean air, and we were in really good shape. And then all of a sudden, we went from being really, really good shape to absolutely the worst possible scenario, being at the very back of the lead lap. And all that happened by simply one car having an incident. It was very intriguing.
It jumbled the strategy, and it did make for some interesting decisions down the stretch of that race. But Denny Hamlin comes out on top, and the big story coming down to the wire was who's going to have enough fuel to make it. Are we going to see somebody come in or have to come in for pit stops? It looked like a bunch of guys saved gas until the very end, and when Denny thought it was time to go, he went. Here's what he had to say about the fuel situation.
Well, I think my style lends itself to saving fuel anyway. I think just the way that I get on and off the gas typically is better for fuel mileage. And when he said we were right on it, I knew I was saving fuel the entire run, except for the laps I was really trying to pass, the 19 and the 20. Once I got to the lead, I was doing everything I could, just everything I'd learned over the years of saving fuel, and I just knew that if it wasn't enough, then we either didn't get it full enough, or the way I'm doing it's just not good enough. But yeah, I certainly was worried there at the end. I was less worried when the cautions came out, but I didn't want the cautions to come out because I had such a decent lead on the 19. I was just kind of pacing myself off of him. Nobody else was really coming, so I was confident that we were going to win the race without the cautions. And then when we went into overtime, Chris said, look, if it goes into overtime, we're going to have a discussion whether you got enough fuel or not. But luckily, there wasn't another green-white checkered. I don't think we would have made it if we did that.
Third win of the season for Denny Hamlin after no wins in 2018. Second time this year Joe Gibbs Racing has finished 1, 2, 3. The other one, do you remember it? Denny Hamlin won that one as well.
I don't.
Daytona.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
1, 2, 3 finish
That's
again for Joe Gibbs Racing, and they are just on fire. I think that's their 11th win this season, and that's gigantic.
One of the intriguing things that we always hear drivers talking about is saving gas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was still going 190 miles an hour. How is he saving gas? It's very cool to have a car out front, and the guy out front can dictate this a whole lot more than people in traffic. When a driver drives down into the corner, normally he's on the gas as long as he possibly can, and then he's on the brake to get around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
If he's leading the race, he can roll out of the gas nice and easy, allow that car to slow down on its own, not using any brake, carrying a little bit more speed, getting around the corner, and then being able to ease on the gas. You can only do that when you're by yourself. When you have people around you and you're driving down the longest straightaway we have and you get off the gas 20 car lengths earlier than the guy behind you, what's he going to do?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pass you. Well, you're still going the same speed, but it's where your speed is relative to the cars around you.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody directly behind you and you get out of the gas in an attempt to save gas and he's very close, he's going to drive by you. And that's what Denny's referring to. His driving style to begin with, he uses a lot less brake than a lot of drivers. But then when he was able to get by the 19 and 20 and stay out front, he was able to maintain a more efficient profile.
I thought he went too soon. I thought, man, he's going to run out. Yeah.
Well, again, it was one of those things. He knew how much he was saving.
For it.
There are certain drivers, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski won his very first race years ago in Kansas. We had phenomenal in-car footage where he physically was not only putting it in neutral, but shutting the engine off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we had guys down in turn one who were spotting for our team saying they were at that point in the game. They were completely shutting the engine down, gliding through turns 1 and 2, turning the ignition back on, popping the clutch, and then taking back off, not using any brake. And it allowed those guys to get. What I find intriguing is the 11 and 20 made it.
Yeah.
Their teammate had to pit because he understands he was going too fast.
He was a little bit out of sequence, right?
Exactly right. But their agenda was we were going to go as fast as we can and use as much gas as we can and use that advantage. Without those cautions, he's working his way back up to the field, and he could have, again, had a good chance of winning. Him and Kevin Harvick, I thought, had the two fastest cars being able to manipulate traffic. But obviously, Denny did a great job of strategizing and making his car as efficient as possible.
He sure did, and he goes to victory lane once again, the third time this season. Got to take a first time out here on MRN Motorsports Monday. We'll talk a little more Pocono. They had some big news coming for next year. They announced what they're going to do for this doubleheader next June. That's going to be fun to talk about as well. And we've got Watkins Glen coming up, road course, road rage coming in New York. Stay with us, everyone.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules. Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
It wasn't just built to be a museum. It was built to be a shrine to the history, heritage, and future of the sport we love. This is our house, the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and it's packed full of classic and present-day cars, including Petty's, Earnhardt's, and Waltrip's, as well as interactive experiences, realistic racing simulators, and much more. Plan a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte. Tickets at NASCARHall.com. NASCAR Hall of Fame. This is our sport. This is our house.
Winged Nation with Steve Post, Aaron Evernham, and Ashley Stremme. Your destination for all things winged sprint cars. Each Saturday at 8:30 and 11:30 a.m. on MAV TV. Live at noon on wingednation.com and Facebook Live. Join us for in-depth conversations with drivers and personalities that make up the greatest dirt racing on earth. The Winged Nation Preview Podcast each Thursday previews the upcoming weekend. Winged Nation, winged sprint car talk covering dirt tracks all across America.
It did. That's how I got around those two guys on the outside. The 19 made the move to try to get around a lap car in turn 3, and I saw an opportunity to dive on the outside there, and I was able to put my right side tires in it. And once I did, it had the grip, and I was able to get beside him, and that was key to then have the power position on the outside entering turn 1. And then with the 20, he was saving fuel, and I could see he was saving fuel pretty early on entries. So I wanted to kind of time a run off of turn 3 with him to where when he kind of checked up into turn 1, I just dove to the outside and got up in the PJ1 and passed him on the outside there in turn 1. So it definitely was a factor. We never would have had an outside lane or even close to an outside lane had it not been on the racetrack. So I think most of the passes today probably were done on the outside. So it still can be refined and be better. I've been working with NASCAR on the track really hard on this particular racetrack, getting it in the right place. And I think that when we come back next year for the doubleheader, we're going to make it even better. So I'm happy that this track is opening up to changes, and certainly we had a better race than what we would have had without it.
Denny Hamlin referring to PJ1, the traction compound they put down for the first time at Pocono. He also talked about the doubleheader. We've got more on that later, but this did make a difference. First of all, what does he mean by being in that power position in turn 1?
Yeah, so one of the things we have to clarify first, what is PJ1? The most common occurrence or events that use a PJ1 is drag racing.
Mm-hmm.
Drag racing, those tires, they run less than 4 seconds over 300 miles an hour without some kind of compound on the ground to allow the tires to get maximum gription.
Mm-hmm.
Without
There you go.
Okay, you have to have some kind of chemical compound that's heat. We always talk about heat activated.
Mm-hmm.
Those dragsters sit on the starting lineup, and
But it's not sunlight heat, it's friction heat.
Exactly. They sit on the starting lineup and they burn their tires up and they increase the tire temperature and they increase this activation and they get the chemical to be able to launch without any slipping. NASCAR, for years, the race teams used it on pit road to spray the pit box to help the crew guys.
Old school version was Coke.
Yep,
Used
Coke.
Coca-Cola.
Yep, and we started using what they called VHT at the time, was a traction compound that allowed the crew guys to run around pit road without slipping, and it allowed the cars to launch better out of the pit boxes. So that's how we started using it. The race team, the race tracks and NASCAR got together, and we started seeing this spray. We call it the juice, the goop, whatever spray. Used to be VHT, now it's a PJ1. That's really a brand name ingredient. It's
just traction compound.
It's a traction compound, and wherever that goes, you put it in an area that normally would be slower or have less traction. The bottom lane at most racetracks is the shortest way around. Guys are going to be there. Well, you don't want to go up top because it's slower up there. So we're going to give that slower lane an advantage.
A little help.
At Pocono, everywhere you would normally not run was sprayed with PJ1. The second groove or third groove and higher all the way to the wall in turns 1, turns 2, and over in the exit of 3. What we heard clearly Denny was saying is as he was able to gain the outside advantage, when Eric Jones goes down into turn 1, he wants to blend off of 1 and go against the wall. Well, you can't blend against the wall if you have a car there.
Right.
And so that took his preferred line away by Denny saying exactly what we had just talked about. Those guys that were saving gas lifted early getting into 1. Denny Hamlin behind him knew that was going on. The opportunity existed. He positioned his car around the outside in a non-preferred lane, but had more gription up there in the PJ1, carried the momentum around the corner, took the preferred line away from Eric, and then able to make the pass and stay out front and win the race eventually.
Yeah, and it was definitely a slow start, a sluggish start, because we saw a couple of cars get torn up in practice, and the guys were saying it was really slick up there, and that speaks to it being activated by friction, because at first, until it gets worked in and gets activated, it's slick.
It is really slick. We see it at every track we go to. People try to avoid it. We actually have to avoid it until the lap times start to fall off, and guys have no choice but to try to go up there to get their lap times back, and it takes 2 or 3 guys. Kyle Larson's notoriously one of the first ones to find or go up there and try to activate.
And it's a gradual thing, 2 wheels,
Absolutely.
then 4 wheels.
Then 4 wheels, exactly right. And we saw the option of being able to use either 2 wheels or 4 wheels at Pocono, depending on what corner you were in. So that PJ1 is a useful device. They actually resprayed it on Sunday after Saturday's truck race. The truck race guys didn't use it nearly enough the truck series is a limited size of trucks, but the Cup guys were going to use it. We used it quite a bit, specifically on restarts. When you're 5 wide, going down the longest straightaway we run into turn 1, and you're 5 wide, you need PJ1 out there to
you gotta
make
have
that
something to make that work.
But it makes it competitive. Without the PJ1, 5 wide is worthless because those bottom 2 lanes are just going to drive around you.
Right, and you mentioned. We were talking off air beforehand. One of the coolest things to me always for years about Pocono is how they all fan out down the front stretch. But in years past, they would have to fight and get it down to 2 wide going into turn 1, or we're going to have a wreck. This time, they didn't necessarily have to do that so much. But you were saying this is a different beast with Pocono than what we come to expect at other tracks.
It's interesting, and we're going to bring out the old soapbox now and just talk about how our fans and the people that watch this racing series sometimes lose track of what the NASCAR season enveloped offers you. We have half-mile tracks, we have 7/8 mile, we have 3/4, we have mile and a half, 2 mile, we have super speedways, we have road courses, we have bank short tracks, flat short tracks. We have a plethora of different kinds of racetracks. We can't, as race fans or even participants, expect the same kind of racing at every single track. I can't expect Martinsville to perform like Bristol, to perform like Talladega, to perform like next weekend's Watkins Glen.
That's what makes it fun. They're all different.
Exactly right. Sometimes we watch things on TV that have no action, but they offer intrigue, they offer excitement, they offer anticipation. How about watching poker on TV? How much action is there? But yet those people are none. But it's the intrigue of being able to learn what's that guy's strategy. Why is he wearing them dumb glasses all the time? He's indoors. Where's the sun? Where's the sun? There's no sun in here.
Right.
But it's the intrigue of being able to watch that guy flinch or blink an eye and just catching all those little nuances, if you will. Pocono offers the exact same thing. When the green flag dropped at lap 0 and we're going to 160, 38 crew chiefs had different sheets on whether we were going to run long, run short, split the stages, go long on the stages, not stay. There were all these different strategies, the excitement.
That had to be adjusted on the fly.
Exactly right. We did it. We talked about, hey, if we're 17 seconds behind the leader, we're going to go on our first plan. If we're more than 17 seconds, we're going to go on the second plan.
Because you will lose a lap.
Well, you're going to lose a lap or not gain the advantage of pitting early or pitting late. There were all of these little strategies. Let's not overlook the fact, I get it. It's over a 2-mile track. Cars aren't beating and banging 5 wide for 160 miles like you think you used to see back in the 90s.
But really didn't.
That never happened.
Yeah.
Today's race is about, some of these tracks are about strategy, and it was so intriguing to see whose strategy was going to play out. And some strategies you never got to see because, like we talked earlier, the Chase Elliott's hit the wall, the Josh Bilicki's broke drive shafts, and that completely took the script the crew chiefs had, flipped the page, and they had to start over again.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I don't know how many times you saw on the screen crew chiefs just shaking their heads.
Right, because they had activated their plan. It looked like they were going to be geniuses. The first Pocono race, Rodney Childress got heralded for Kevin Harvick coming down 2 laps before the stage open or pit road closed. He took right sides and gas, right? What are you doing, Rodney? Then he comes down pit road, takes lefts only or gas only, I can't remember, but he was a genius by getting his car out in front. It was like, oh my God, that was strategy. If you weren't paying attention, you didn't understand that. And that's one of those races that Pocono offers, the kind of strategy to stay involved.
You can try different things.
You can try different things, but as a race fan, you can pay attention to the different strategies. And as a group of race fans, you can get together and go, would you short pit? Would you long pit? Should you come down, take 2 tires? Would you stay out? So when those cautions come out and you see everybody dive off of turn 3 and then the field splits because half of them stay out and half of them pit, you can talk about it. Well, I hope his strategy pits. Hey, he was the last car to stay out. He's going to have new tires right behind him.
But you've got to wait to see if it pays off or comes to fruition.
Exactly right. You're not going to have lap after lap of a lap, 5 wide, cars beating and banging at a track like Pocono.
Right.
It offers something different.
And the old adage is to beat a guy who's fast, you can't do the same thing he's doing because that just keeps his advantage.
Right.
You got to try something different. That's how Adam Stevens and Kyle Busch ended up when they were kind of out of sequence, but they had a strategy that they were playing, and they had a in-car conversation you could hear that was, what strategy are we doing? Why are we doing this? And how is it going to play out? Right. And Adam Stevens distinctly said, well, all these guys are doing this, and we're trying something different because we almost have to now.
When we go to places like Atlanta, California, and Darlington, our most abrasive tracks, pit road strategy is non-existent. When the caution comes out, if you had 5 laps on your tires, you come down and you bolt another set on. There is no strategy. So tracks like Darlington, those 3 great racetracks, don't even offer a strategy mentality. Next week, we're going to talk about Watkins Glen, just like this weekend at Pocono. You have a lot of strategy, not only trying to make your cars go fast, but how are we going to get by the other guy if I can get by him without passing him?
The strategy at those places comes into how you save your tires and conserve them, because you know you're getting 4 when you come down.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So let's stop asking Pocono to produce races like Martinsville and Bristol. We do have 5 wide on restarts. The PJ1 gave us the opportunity to run 3, 4, 5 wide in the corners, but it offers more than that, and I think we need to really pay attention to it next year, especially with the doubleheader.
All right, speaking of that doubleheader, we'll talk about that next. We've also got to review the truck race at Pocono and the Xfinity Series race at Iowa before we look at Watkins Glen. A lot more to get covered here.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away 1 set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders, because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Hey guys, it's Dylan Welch. He's Tyler Burnett. We're the co-hosts of the Rip the Fence podcast. If you like traditional non-wing dirt track racing, we've got the podcast for you.
Shane Meal trying to drive away.
I can't do everything, but I could do anything and everything I wanted before I got injured. So
just like many of the great podcasts going, we invite racers in to talk, and they tell us their life story.
And it's how I feel that matters.
It's the Rip the Fence podcast, available on MRN.com and your favorite podcast app.
MRN Outloud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. It is Bloomin' Monday. If you're watching on a Monday, Kevin Harvick, a top 10 finish, you can head over, get your free Bloomin' Onion there. And who doesn't like free stuff, right? I mean,
it's
great.
the only show on the entire internet that gives away free onions and free tires.
Right. Some may do one or the other.
The show makes you cry sometimes, but it might be the onions that Kevin Harvick gives you away.
It might be.
But right now, Hercules is giving away a free set of tires every month. Every month you can get a free set of tires.
Free.
They're just giving them away. But you have to register by going to HerculesTire.com. Use the / with MRN. HerculesTire.com/MRN.
And you could get a free set of tires. Who doesn't like free stuff?
And take those tires, drive to Outback.
Right. Get your free onion, and you're all set. What more do you need?
And free onions.
Have a whole free day. Speaking of guys who had good weekends, Ross Chastain wins again in the Truck Series. 3rd win for that guy. Looks like he made the right call by deciding, you know what, I'm going to run for points in the Truck Series.
When he was driving for BKR, his level of enthusiasm was unparalleled, and he only lasted a year because of the business way model and everything was. They ended up bringing Tyler Reddick in, and Ross Chastain moved on. I text him after the truck race because his enthusiasm is still there. Now his level of success has gotten higher. You know, his drive has maintained, and to watch him race, he's having more fun than anybody, and he's doing it not with a super truck team, right?
Right.
Nice Motorsports is a good team. I'm not taking
an up
anything
and coming
away.
team, but they're not a Thor Sport or
GMS or any of the KBMs. I mean,
right.
You think about the teams that Nice Motorsports is beating with the so-called caliber of drivers that they've had and have now, and it's impressive to see how good Ross Chastain is in a truck. But when he gets out, and like I told him, I said, you're making watermelon farmers around the country happy.
Yep.
He had that big blow-up watermelon.
I know we bought one this weekend.
Exactly, and you threw it in the stands, and he's just having so much fun because now he sees, he's been spending time over at JD Motorsports. He's been over at some lower-funded teams, and now he's really in a good race team, not considered great yet because they're so new. They're doing very, very well. But when he gets out of the truck, everybody's having so much fun. He's captured his 3rd win. He's clearly in the the top 3-4 trucks.
He is in
Homestead.
playoff standings right now. He's got 3 wins. You know, the only guy who has more Gander Outdoor Truck Series wins this year than Ross Chastain?
Kyle Busch.
Exactly, and he's not a regular, so it doesn't really matter in terms of playoff.
And you wouldn't have taken that bet in the beginning of the year.
No, nobody would have. But he's right there in the thick of it. Now those guys move on this Thursday night to the Eldora Dirt Derby, and that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because now we're getting down to there's guys that simply can't point their way into the playoffs. They have to win, and there's a big, large group of guys that don't have that elusive win yet. And they're going to go to Eldora with their spikes and their horns on, and they're not going to put up with anything if they can get that win.
Stuart Friesen, the last guy in the playoff bubble right now, he's 13 points ahead of Harrison Burton. Stuart Friesen, a really good dirt racer.
Yep.
Chase Briscoe's going to run a Thor Sport truck. Yep. He has won there. Yep. Matt Crafton has become a good dirt racer. That could be his opportunity to get a win. He's doing well points-wise, but he'd like to go ahead and have that win under his belt. By the way, that comes your way right here on the Motor Racing Network Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, the Eldora Dirt Derby as the Gander Outdoor Truck Series goes to race on the dirt. Meanwhile, in the Xfinity Series, the aforementioned Chase Briscoe goes to victory lane. Second career win. His last win, the Roval, a year ago, and now he goes to victory lane again.
You know, and we saw strategy play a huge part of that race. Chase Briscoe in a little early skirmish was able to pit and not put on some tires, then take tires later on after guys had taken their other tires. He had a little bit fresher tire than Christopher Bell, who was earlier on and most of the day clearly a dominant car. Christopher Bell was really, really fast. Him and Cole Custer stayed in the top 5 all afternoon with some other drivers mixing it up amongst the 3rd, 4th, 5th drivers. But then Briscoe had the new tires, was able to drive up. What I loved about Chase and when I texted him after the race is the patience that he showed with less than 10 laps to go, knowing every lap that I go is 1 lap less fresher my tires are. So how aggressive do I get getting by Christopher? Do I do a bump and run? Do I wear my stuff out? And he was very, very patient to work and work and work to get inside of Christopher.
To have something left when he got there.
And to be able to get by him, knowing, okay, now Christopher is going to try to pressure me. So not only did he get by Christopher Bell with a tremendous patient pass, pull away, but not make any mistakes. His lap times were superb, lap after lap for those last 4 or 5 laps, coming back to grab that checker flag.
And now we go to road course season in the Xfinity Series. I think, 3 out of the next 4 are on road courses. Yeah. That brings guys like Chase Briscoe into the picture, who won at the Roval last year. Austin Cindric is a really good road racer. Some of these guys who haven't been considered part of the big 3 so far this year. Christopher Bell just flat out admits, I'm not a great road racer.
You know, some of those guys look forward to it, and some of them just go, yeah, I'll show up and do what I can.
Right.
You know,
just got to get through it.
And hopefully they have enough points or a win in after the road courses that they're not worried about the playoffs. But a guy like Austin Cindric, who's really solidly in the playoff hunt, is looking to get that first win in those next 3 road courses. I see him getting at least 1 win. The race that I can't wait for is to watch Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, and A.J. Allmendinger.
That's going to be so much fun.
Those 3 guys, clearly, and again, Christopher Bell is a good road course racer, but those other
he says
3,
he's not.
Well, but he's been good.
Yeah,
you know, he's done well over there. But those 3 guys are the ones I want to watch. I'm excited to see A.J. Allmendinger in those cars again. And again, I think losing a crew chief last week with Nick Harrison, who unfortunately passed away quickly, will give those guys a little of incentive.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure. Before we leave the subject of Pocono, we got to talk about, they announced their schedule next year, late June, a doubleheader.
Fantastic.
They're going to do 5 races in all. ARCA, the Xfinity Series, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series, and 2 Cup races on back-to-back days. Yep. Scott Miller is the Executive Vice President for Competition at NASCAR. He talked about how some of this is going to work because they're using the same cars. There's not a lot of time in the schedule.
Right.
Well, this is obviously the first time that any of us have really attempted something of this nature with a doubleheader weekend, and obviously a lot of challenges and a lot of collaboration to get to this point. Still have some work to do on, some of the finite details of the rules for the competition bit and all that. But just an overview there. The teams are going to use the same car for both races, and we will qualify them on Friday for race 1, impound them, and have our race on Saturday, race 1, and then after that we will give the competitors back their cars, and they can do all of their maintenance. They can't really run the 700 miles without having their cars back for just general service and all that. So we will give the cars back. They will likely change valve springs and work on any slight damage or whatever from the race, do all the maintenance to prepare for the 350-mile race 2. And for the starting lineup for race 2, we are going to something new, something that I think is going to be exciting for the fans. We are going to invert the cars that were on the lead lap in race 1 for the starting order. Lap down cars will start behind those. That's something new. It's been it's funny that one of our prominent drivers was kind of the original champion of that concept, and we kind of looked at each other and said, I'm not sure everybody will buy into that. And actually, everybody did. It was pretty universally accepted as kind of a cool way to go and something that we thought would put on a good show. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the Cup deal, and it'll be really good having all of our series here and the Gander trucks and the Xfinity series kind of being the lead-in to the Cup races on both days of the weekend.
That's just going to be a fascinating weekend. But what jumps off the page you there at what Scott Miller just said, the vice president for competition at NASCAR?
A first in history, a scheduled doubleheader with the same car.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. And again, we talk about strategy, right? We talked about this whole show about Pocono and strategy. There will be race teams. There were roughly 25 cars on the lead lap yesterday. Okay, so you figure the 20...
And that's what they're inverting, lead lap cars.
Lead lap cars.
Yeah.
So essentially the 25th place car for the second race will start on the pole. Okay, well, that was for the 400 miles, 160 laps. We're only running 350 the first race, so it's going to be a shorter event. So more cars, possibly up to 30 cars, 28 cars will be on the lead lap. That 28th place car, using the same pit stall they picked from the original qualifying, we're not changing pit stalls, he gets to start on the front row. So now these race teams, added to all the other strategy trying to win the race and stage points and everything else, you're going to have guys like we see in the NFL or like we see in baseball pulling the plug and going to the back going, okay, this race is done. We're not
going to do much better than this.
I can't finish, whether I finish 23rd or 27th, it's irrelevant. Let's go get some track position for race number 2, and we're going to the back.
It'll be a race backwards.
Exactly right. Just like we see in the NBA or other teams when they try to get that first draft pick. Man, they are tanking games bad. You're going to see teams going, man, just come down pit road and take your time. Because we're going to go to the back here real quick, and we're going to set ourselves up for race number 2 and see how that goes. So it'll be interesting. The menagerie of cars that we're going to see in the back of this race of race number 1 that will be allowed to start up front.
And what a value ticket that's going to be. You get the ARCA race, you get the Gander Outdoor Truck Series, you get the Xfinity Series, and 2 Cup races. That place, the camping is going to be phenomenal there. It's going to be outrageous.
I really hope Mother Nature's a fan.
Yeah, me too. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that one. All right, one more break here on MRN Out Loud. We'll come back and take a look at Watkins Glen next.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre-cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
It wasn't just built to be a museum. It was built to be a shrine to the history, heritage, and future of the sport we love. Visit the NASCAR Hall of Fame and see how Petty, Earnhardt, and hundreds of other NASCAR legends became heroes. Watch their most electrifying moments, experience realistic racing simulators, and much more. Plan a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte. Tickets at NASCARHall.com. NASCAR Hall of Fame. This is our sport. This is our house.
Veteran drivers and rookie drivers. NASCAR Today Midday keeps you up to date with all your favorites each weekday.
It's a dream come true. A lot of you know the path that I've gone down.
There's a lot of opportunity with the package changes, with the Chevrolet and the work they're putting in. And I know one thing's for sure, it's good to have my name on top of the Cup car.
Don't miss any of the breaking NASCAR news with NASCAR Today Midday. Only on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Heading to Watkins Glen this week for a little road course racing, and Joey's been digging through the trivia files, and you had a good one there about repeat winners.
It's interesting, the winners at Watkins Glen the last 6 years: Chase Elliott, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, A.J. Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, Marcus Ambrose, the last two-time repeat winner at Watkins Glen. You can see that, again, nobody's dominant there, but a lot of guys are really good, and that's what makes the racing really fantastic. Marcus Ambrose was able to catch that victory with Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch.
What a finish that was.
Bobby Labonte had put some oil down. Those guys were slipping and sliding and beating and banging all the way. The lead was changed 4 or 5 times from turn 1 all the way back around, back to the start-finish. It was exciting as all get out. It's a faster, less sharp corner, higher elevation than, say, Sonoma, and it just brings on a different kind of road course action that we see in Sonoma. A lot of passing zones, different passing zones on the gas, off the gas. It's my favorite road course to be at. As a spotter, I hate it. I can't see
everything.
Can't see the whole track, so I don't get to enjoy the race as you would a normal racetrack or even Sonoma that we get to see. But a lot of like Mid-Ohio and Road America and Watkins Glen.
I love Road America.
Beautiful facility, without a doubt. But I can't stand not seeing the whole track. And that's what we utilize. We'll utilize up to 3 spotters. I'm actually helping Josh Williams. Ryan Blaney's running the second car this weekend. We have the number 12 with him.
On the Xfinity side.
On the Xfinity side. So we get to do 2 cars with the 22 and 12. And so I get to spot 1 position, top of the S's for the Xfinity side. And then our main spotter stand is on the front stretch. But you can't see the whole track. And it's so unfortunate because it offers great racing. One of the best views around is when that helicopter takes you around the whole track. He gets to see the whole view. So Watkins Glen's amazing. But Marcus Ambrose, the last repeat winner.
Back in 2012.
Yep.
We talked a lot earlier at Sonoma about adding the carousel and how that might or might not impact things. Are you a fan of if they decide to bring the boot back at Watkins Glen, or if it's not broke, don't fix it?
If it's not broke, don't fix it. It already offers everything you possibly could want in a racetrack. Why change it with that little bit of a chance that you might add? Because with the chance, anytime that you might do something good, you might do something bad, and you might take away something from a race that's already fantastic. Let's leave it well enough alone and go to another road course or do whatever you got to do to run the boot or whatever you want to call it. But I think Watkins Glen really is already a good track that established itself with that particular course. Other road racing series is Run the Boot. Go watch them and Run the Boot.
Have fun.
Yep.
Enjoy it. All right, a big week coming up here on the Motor Racing Network. Tuesday night, NASCAR Live with Mike Bagley. That comes your way at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. As we mentioned, on Thursday, the Eldora Dirt Derby, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Thursday right here on the Motor Racing Network. Saturday, we kick things off with practice, 10:30 Saturday morning, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Final practice for the Cup Series. They qualify at 6:30 Saturday night. Xfinity Series, 2:30 Saturday afternoon, and the Go Bowling at the Glen is going to be 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday afternoon. Make sure you're here. Check MRN.com for all the scheduling information. I'm Woody Cain. That's Joey Meier. He, Little Joey, and Little Herc say see you next week.